Imagine a world where dinosaurs are not towering behemoths, but tiny creatures you could accidentally step on while walking your dog. Welcome to What If Horizons, where we dissect the most bizarre possibilities that could have reshaped our reality. Today, we dive into a universe where dinosaurs were smaller than chickens. Buckle up, because this one gets absurdly entertaining. Picture the mighty Tyrannosaurus Rex, the king of the Cretaceous, not as a towering predator, but a palm-sized lizard glaring at you from your kitchen counter. Instead of terrifying roars echoing across vast prehistoric plains, you'd hear high-pitched squeaks coming from behind the toaster. The idea seems ridiculous, but let's take it seriously for a moment, because the ripple effects would have been enormous. First, let's talk about survival. Small dinosaurs would have been far better at hiding from meteors, volcanic eruptions, and other extinction-level events. When a 6-mile-wide asteroid slammed into Earth 66 million years ago, most large species couldn't escape the resulting chaos. But our hypothetical mini dinosaurs might have simply scurried into underground burrows, waited out the apocalypse, and carried on snacking on insects like nothing happened. Cockroaches would have finally found a worthy survival rival. Now, imagine modern ecosystems. Instead of pigeons swarming city parks, we might have tiny velociraptors pestering tourists for breadcrumbs. Bird-watching clubs would become dino-watching clubs, where enthusiasts gather with binoculars to spot rare breeds of micro-ankylosaurs perched delicately on telephone wires. Instead of keeping parakeets in cages, suburban families might keep micro-triceratops as pets. Just think about how adorable a triceratops the size of a hamster would be, with its little horns barely poking out of its fuzzy forehead. Of course, humanity's relationship with these creatures would be fundamentally different. Rather than digging up massive fossilized skeletons, paleontologists would spend their careers studying tiny remains, using magnifying glasses and tweezers instead of backhoes and cranes. Museums would showcase delicate dioramas under glass domes instead of towering skeletal reconstructions. Jurassic Park would be more like Jurassic Petting Zoo, featuring genetically engineered miniature dinosaurs that fit neatly into the palm of your hand. Domestication would become a real possibility. Farmers could breed flocks of micro-dinosaurs for eggs, meat, or even pest control. Picture a farmer releasing a horde of tiny stegosauruses into a cornfield to feast on crop-devouring insects. You would no longer need pesticides, just a well-trained pack of insect-eating dinos. Organic farming would never be the same. But it wouldn't stop there. The fashion industry, ever hungry for novelty, might embrace dino-inspired accessories. Instead of carrying a tiny designer dog, celebrities could flaunt pocket-sized sauropods on gold leashes. High society events would feature dino races, where enthusiastic owners cheer for their minuscule velociraptors dashing down velvet tracks. Think about architecture. Entire industries might spring up around designing dino-safe homes. Special dino doors, miniature staircases, and custom-built habitats would become the norm. You'd visit a friend's house and admire their beautifully landscaped micro-dinosaur terrarium in the living room, complete with tiny streams, rock formations, and palm trees scaled to suit their prehistoric inhabitants. Let's not forget about the culinary possibilities. In some cultures, tiny dino eggs could become exotic delicacies served at upscale restaurants. Chefs would craft intricate dishes featuring bite-sized omelets garnished with micro-herbs. The food critics, of course, would wax poetic about the subtle prehistoric undertones and the delicate crunch of the miniature shells. On a more serious note, having these creatures integrated into daily life would provide unparalleled opportunities for scientific research. Evolutionary biologists would have living models to study the direct lineage from dinosaurs to modern birds. Geneticists would unlock secrets hidden in their DNA, potentially leading to breakthroughs in medicine, aging, and even bioengineering. Of course, there would be controversies. Animal rights groups would rally against the exploitation of these creatures, while corporations would see dollar signs in every tiny claw. Laws would be written and rewritten to regulate the breeding, sale, and care of domesticated dinosaurs. Black markets would emerge, dealing in rare or genetically modified specimens, much like the exotic pet trade today. We would likely develop an entirely new branch of veterinary medicine, specializing in dino health, tiny orthopedic surgeons repairing fractured microskeletons, pediatric dino dentists cleaning itty-bitty teeth with microscopic tools, pharmaceutical companies producing specialized medications in minuscule dosages. Even insurance companies would jump in, offering comprehensive dino health coverage for nervous pet owners. Now, imagine children growing up with these creatures. Forget stuffed animals or goldfish and bowls. Kids would beg their parents for a tiny stegosaurus for Christmas. Toy companies would create elaborate play sets, mimicking prehistoric jungles for kids to design habitats. Dino birthday parties would involve races, obstacle courses, and best-dressed competitions for their beloved mini-saurians. And what about the psychological impact? Instead of fearing dinosaurs as terrifying monsters, generations would grow up viewing them as lovable, quirky companions. Popular media would depict them as loyal pets, with Saturday morning cartoons, plush toys, and bedtime stories featuring heroic micro-dinos saving the day. In fact, cinema would never be the same. Instead of epic blockbusters where dinosaurs terrorize screaming crowds, we'd have heartfelt dramas about the special bond between a child and their loyal pet Triceratops. Hollywood would churn out family-friendly franchises that blend prehistoric cuteness with heartwarming tales of friendship, adventure, and overcoming adversity. Governments, of course, would inevitably get involved. Policies regulating the ownership, breeding, and transportation of these creatures would spark endless debates. International treaties might be signed to prevent the illegal trade of endangered micro-dino species. Diplomatic disputes could arise over cross-border dino smuggling operations. The United Nations might establish a Department of Prehistoric Animal Welfare, with its own headquarters, bureaucratic red tape, and occasional scandals. In the realm of sports, micro-dino racing would become a global phenomenon. Entire leagues would form, with enthusiastic fan bases, team merchandise, and lucrative sponsorships. Commentators would analyze the speed, agility, and temperament of the tiny competitors with the same passion currently reserved for human athletes. Las Vegas would host dino racing championships, attracting tourists from around the world eager to place bets on their favorite tiny sprinter. Even the military might find uses for these creatures. Imagine reconnaissance missions where highly trained micro-raptors sneak into enemy territory, gathering intelligence while remaining virtually undetectable. Defense contractors would pour billions into developing dino-based surveillance programs, leading to an entirely new era of espionage. But, as with all things, unintended consequences would emerge. Invasive species concerns would escalate as certain micro-dinosaur populations escape captivity and establish themselves in the wild. Ecologists would scramble to manage ecosystems destabilized by their presence. Debates would rage over whether to control or protect these newfound wild populations. And this is just scratching the surface of what such a bizarre twist in evolution could bring. As we continue to unravel this whimsical reality, one cannot ignore the profound impact on education. Science classes would feature live demonstrations using tiny dinosaurs instead of grainy PowerPoint slides. Students would no longer yawn through dull lectures about fossils. Instead, they would observe living specimens up close, feeding them during biology lessons while trying not to lose them beneath the lab tables. Dissections would take a bizarre turn, though animal rights activists might put a swift end to any hands-on experiments involving the precious mini-saurians. Field trips would become thrilling expeditions to micro-dinosaur reserves, where students could watch these creatures interact in carefully constructed habitats that mimicked prehistoric environments. Picture a national park filled not with bison and bears, but with herds of knee-high stegosaurus grazing on manicured lawns while tourists snap photos and purchase overpriced dino-shaped snacks at the gift shop. Economically, entire industries would bloom.
Tiny dino breeders would become household names, their brand logos proudly displayed on billboards advertising the latest designer species. Reality TV shows would chronicle the glamorous lives of elite breeders, showcasing their prized collections and cutthroat competitions. Think of it as the prehistoric version of dog shows, but with far more feathers, frills, and furious debates over proper tail posture. Of course, with popularity comes rivalry. Heated debates would erupt among breeders about ideal dino standards. Should a micro-tyrannosaurus have proportionally tiny but fierce-looking teeth? Should miniature triceratops have vibrant colored horns? International dino breeding competitions would draw massive crowds, with judges scrutinizing every tiny scale under magnifying lenses as nervous owners pace behind the velvet ropes. On the technological front, advancements would be astonishing. Engineers would develop microscopic tracking chips embedded into the skin of these creatures to prevent theft or loss. Smartphone apps would help owners monitor their dino's health stats, mood swings, and even recommend custom meal plans. Social media platforms would explode with viral videos of tiny dinosaurs performing tricks, dancing, or simply sneezing adorably into miniature handkerchiefs. Influencers would capitalize, amassing millions of followers by showcasing their dino companions dressed in seasonal outfits, enjoying luxury spa treatments, or embarking on travel adventures inside plush designer travel pods. Hashtags like Dino Life, Prehistoric Pets, and Tiny Terror would trend globally. Pet dino influencers might even eclipse human influencers, triggering an existential crisis among Instagram models who suddenly find themselves overshadowed by creatures the size of salt shakers. Let us not ignore the strange culinary offshoots. While many would cherish their dinos as beloved pets, others would inevitably see gastronomic potential. High-end restaurants might feature dino meat delicacies, ethically sourced, of course, with chefs boasting about the unique tenderness of microsaur steaks. Diners would pay absurd prices for the novelty of consuming ancient protein in minuscule portions served on oversized plates with artistic swirls of prehistoric reduction sauce. The medical industry would benefit tremendously. Studying the regenerative properties, immune systems, and cellular structures of living dinosaurs could lead to breakthroughs in human healthcare. Imagine harnessing their genetic resilience to develop treatments for cancer, aging, or even regenerating lost limbs. Geneticists would work tirelessly to decode the secrets hidden within these creatures' double helixes, opening doors to previously unimaginable possibilities. Religions and philosophies might reinterpret humanity's place in the grand scheme of things. Entire belief systems could sprout around these living relics of Earth's distant past. Pilgrimages to sacred dino sanctuaries would attract the devout, while theologians debate whether these creatures are divine gifts, evolutionary marvels, or simply reminders of nature's endless surprises. Meanwhile, philosophers would hold late-night debates, fueled by overpriced coffee and existential dread. If dinosaurs never went extinct, but instead shrank and adapted, what does that say about survival? Is it better to be mighty and doomed, or small and enduring? University courses titled The Existential Implications of Micro-Dino Survival would fill lecture halls with students desperately trying to sound profound for extra credit. On political front, entire campaigns would hinge on dino policies. Candidates would promise tax breaks for dino owners, subsidies for breeders, and stricter regulations to prevent illegal dino trafficking. Protesters would flood the streets, waving signs demanding freedom for micro-dinos, while counter-protesters chant about the dangers of invasive species. News pundits would bicker nightly over whether government-funded dino research constitutes wasteful spending or vital scientific progress. Of course, crime would adapt too. Black markets would flourish, trading rare and exotic dino breeds. Smugglers would operate covert networks transporting forbidden species across borders, hidden in elaborate disguises. Law enforcement agencies would form specialized dino crime units, complete with miniature canine-style microraptors trained to sniff out contraband dino eggs concealed within stuffed teddy bears. Let's not forget the fashion world's insatiable hunger for novelty. Designers would unleash entire collections inspired by dino patterns, scales, and feathers. Runways would feature models escorted by perfectly groomed micro-dinos wearing matching couture. Celebrities would flaunt their latest dino companions at red carpet events, sparking social media debates about ethical breeding practices versus fashion statements. In urban centers, micro-dinosaur cafes would sprout like mushrooms after a rainstorm. Patrons would sip lattes while their dino companions socialize in elaborate play zones, complete with obstacle courses and interactive toys. Dating apps would emerge catering to dino enthusiasts, where profiles proudly feature users prized triceratops or particularly photogenic micro-pterodactyl. The entertainment industry would see an explosion of dino-themed content. Animated series would depict heartwarming tales of unlikely friendships between kids and their miniature dinosaur pals. Streaming platforms would produce binge-worthy dramas following the cutthroat world of elite breeders vying for supremacy. Reality shows would pit contestants against each other in elaborate micro-dino obstacle challenges judged by celebrity panels. Meanwhile, conspiracy theorists would have a field day. Fringe groups would argue that micro-dinosaurs were part of secret government experiments dating back decades. Others would claim that alien overlords planted these creatures as part of a grand interstellar zoo project. Late-night talk shows would invite self-proclaimed experts who confidently declare that the CIA controls global dino breeding operations. The arts would flourish. Painters would immortalize scenes of humans and dinosaurs coexisting in harmonious microcosms. Sculptors would craft intricate mini-dino figurines displayed in galleries. Musicians would compose symphonies inspired by the delicate movements and calls of these tiny creatures. Poets would pen verses extolling the whimsical beauty of palm-sized triceratops basking beneath bonsai trees. But not all developments would be utopian. Environmental concerns would escalate as escaped dino populations established themselves in fragile ecosystems. Invasive microdinos might outcompete native species, triggering cascading ecological shifts. Conservationists would scramble to create balance while policymakers argue over ethical solutions. Insurance companies would gleefully offer dino-related policies, covering everything from theft to health emergencies. Premiums would skyrocket as owners discover the high cost of tiny veterinary surgeries, designer dino habitats, and rare dietary supplements extracted from endangered prehistoric plants. And while the upper class indulges in luxury dino ownership, underground markets would cater to less fortunate enthusiasts seeking affordable, albeit slightly less reputable breeds. Dodgy breeders would peddle knockoff hybrids with dubious genetic lineages, leading to hilarious and sometimes disastrous pet ownership experiences. This brave new world of tiny dinosaurs would be equal parts wonder, chaos, and comedy.
As this peculiar micro-dinosaur reality continues to unfold, governments find themselves grappling with unexpected diplomatic quagmires. Trade agreements now include clauses covering the import and export of rare dino breeds. International summits featured tense negotiations over dino tariffs, with world leaders debating whether miniature ankylosaurs should be classified as livestock, exotic pets, or national treasures. Press conferences become spectacles where heads of state proudly present their personal micro-dino mascots to signal solidarity or passive-aggressively flaunt genetic superiority. Embassies established specialized dino attaché positions, tasked with managing cross-border breeding programs, resolving custody disputes, and preventing diplomatic incidents caused by mischievous microdinos sneaking across heavily monitored checkpoints. Spies are no longer smuggling state secrets in briefcases, but rather implanting data chips inside harmless-looking microdinos disguised as tourist pets. James Bond films are rewritten with scenes of espionage involving dinosaurs wearing tiny trench coats. Meanwhile, the travel industry experiences an unprecedented boom. Dino-friendly airlines emerge offering luxury seating for both humans and their mini creatures. Passengers sip cocktails while their dino companions lounge in first-class dino pods, equipped with massage functions, gourmet snacks, and holographic entertainment, showcasing relaxing prehistoric landscapes. Hotels market themselves as dino-welcoming destinations, complete with rooftop playgrounds and 24-hour microraptor daycare services. Inevitably, the dating landscape is transformed. Owning a rare breed becomes a status symbol and an immediate conversation starter. Bios on dating apps read like dino breeder catalogs. Profiles boast credentials like proud owner of a third-generation plumage-enhanced Protoceratops, or my microraptor is certified by the International Mini Dino Breeders Association. Swiping right becomes an act not of romantic compatibility, but of mutual admiration for each other's dino parenting skills. Artists, of course, continue their creative frenzy. Entire art movements spring forth inspired by the vibrant colors and patterns of miniature dinosaurs. Fashion runways explode in bursts of prehistoric chic, with models donning feathered gowns while strutting alongside their equally flamboyant dino companions. Haute couture designers release limited edition microdino accessories, gemstone-studded harnesses, silk feeding bibs, and titanium-enforced claw covers for the truly paranoid owner. The entertainment industry takes a predictable turn toward absurdity. Late-night talk shows introduce live segments featuring celebrities and their misbehaving dinos. Viral challenges sweep the internet, such as the Dino Dance-Off, where owners attempt synchronized choreography with their wiggly companions. Some influencers specialize in teaching dinos to mimic famous TikTok dances, though critics accuse them of exploiting their pets for views, while secretly envying their astronomical follower counts. Amusement parks adapt rapidly. Jurassic World transforms into Micro-Jurassic World, where children ride mechanical replicas of miniaturized T-Rexes while munching on dino-shaped cotton candy. Thrill rides feature virtual reality journeys through hypothetical worlds where humans and dinos co-rule the planet, complete with narration by over-enthusiastic celebrities attempting to pronounce complex dinosaur names with varying degrees of success. Of course, education undergoes yet another metamorphosis. Universities introduce entire departments devoted to microdinosaur studies. Professors with degrees in dino behavior, miniature ecosystem management, and advanced breeding ethics publish dense academic journals filled with debates over optimal dino exercise regimens and proper emotional bonding techniques. Graduation ceremonies include honorary dino wrangling demonstrations as students showcase the results of years of painstaking research. The publishing world capitalizes as well. Best-selling self-help books emerge with titles like Raising Your Dino Without Losing Your Sanity, From Egg to Adulthood, The Micro-Dino Parenting Manual, and How to Speak Prehistoric, Understanding Your Dino's Emotional Needs. Children's books teach valuable life lessons through heartwarming tales of kids and their mischievous but lovable microsaurian companions. Naturally, with every innovation comes unintended consequences. Public safety officials issue strict regulations on acceptable dino behavior in public spaces. Leash laws are expanded to include reinforced, chew-proof harnesses. Park signs remind visitors to clean up after their dinos, while overzealous city council members debate installing specialized microdino waste receptacles on every corner. Insurance companies grow richer by the minute, offering an endless array of niche policies. Coverage includes accidental trampling, yes, even from creatures the size of squirrels, spontaneous molting that damages property, and emotional trauma counseling for children who accidentally sit on their dino companions. Premiums skyrocket when owners attempt to insure rare or genetically experimental breeds, some of which come with unpredictable behavioral quirks. Then come the legal battles. Courtrooms are inundated with bizarre cases. Neighbors sue each other over late-night dino mating calls. Class action lawsuits target shady breeders selling genetically unstable hybrids prone to aggressive tantrums. Divorce settlements become complicated when couples fight over custody of their beloved microraptors, each claiming superior emotional bonds and more suitable habitats. Religious and philosophical debates intensify. Some sects declare microdinos as sacred symbols, interpreting their resilience and adaptability as divine lessons for humanity. Others warn of humanity's hubris, arguing that reviving ancient creatures for amusement flirts dangerously with playing God. Fringe cults worship particularly rare breeds, gathering in secret rituals involving synchronized dino dances and elaborate feathered robes. Even therapists see an uptick in clients struggling with dino-related anxiety disorder. Sessions revolve around coping mechanisms for the stress of competitive breeding, social media envy fueled by influencer dino owners, and the heartbreak of microdino health crises. Support groups form for those mourning the loss of particularly cherished companions, complete with tiny gravestones and candlelit vigils. Scientists push the boundaries of genetic engineering even further. Laboratories experiment with hybrid microdinos designed for specialized purposes. Glow-in-the-dark breeds become popular for nighttime strolls. Aquatic variants bring prehistoric charm to luxury aquariums. Ultra-intelligent microdinos capable of basic tricks and emotional responses are marketed as living, breathing Tamagotchis, except significantly more expensive and prone to unexpected tail whips during moments of excitement. Politicians exploit the craze to bolster their campaigns. Slogans like "A dino in every home" and "Prehistoric prosperity for all" dominate billboards. Voter blocs organize around dino ownership rights, lobbying for tax breaks, public dino parks, and government-funded research grants. Opposition candidates accuse rivals of accepting bribes from powerful breeder lobbies, while investigative journalists expose corruption scandals involving illegal hybridization rings operating in shadowy underground laboratories. News networks dedicate entire segments to daily dino coverage. Morning shows feature expert panels discussing the latest breed trends, while breaking news alerts interrupt programming to report daring dino heists or record-breaking auction sales. Anchors struggle to maintain composure as footage rolls of rebellious microdinos causing minor but hilarious public disruptions, like stealing hot dog buns at county fairs or engaging in fierce tug-of-war battles with unsuspecting toddlers. And amidst this chaotic yet oddly charming society, philosophers once again gather to ask the truly important questions. Has humanity found balance with nature, or merely reinvented new forms of exploitation? Do these tiny creatures represent the ultimate symbol of adaptation, or a ticking genetic time bomb waiting to destabilize delicate ecosystems? Late-night debates rage on, fueled by caffeine, cheap wine, and an endless stream of viral dino memes that somehow manage to capture both the absurdity and wonder of this prehistoric revival.
As the tiny dinosaur phenomenon marches forward, the culinary world undergoes its own peculiar transformation. Celebrity chefs rush to adapt their menus, eager to capitalize on the public's insatiable appetite for anything dino-related. Gourmet restaurants offer dishes inspired by prehistoric flora, while strict regulations ensure that no one mistakenly attempts to cook their miniature companions. Nevertheless, urban legends swirl about rogue chefs experimenting with ethically questionable recipes behind closed doors, sparking heated debates on late-night food shows. Farmers' markets brim with exotic produce cultivated specifically to cater to the nutritional needs of microdinos. Rows of prehistoric ferns, miniature cycads, and protein-rich insects are displayed like luxury goods, with eager shoppers haggling over the finest organic dino chow. Rivalries form between breeders and growers, each claiming their proprietary blend of nutrients yields shinier scales, fluffier feathers, or longer tail plumes. The pet industry, ever the opportunist, fully embraces the dino economy. High-end boutiques cater to affluent owners seeking only the finest accessories for their tiny creatures. Diamond-encrusted harnesses, temperature-controlled nests, and mood-calibrating LED habitats become symbols of status. Monthly subscription boxes arrive at doorsteps filled with themed treats, custom toys, and personalized grooming supplies. For the more paranoid owners, security firms offer 24-hour surveillance to protect against dino theft. Not surprisingly, black markets thrive in the shadows. Illicit breeders peddle forbidden hybrids, promising exotic colors or bizarre behaviors. Unscrupulous collectors pay astronomical sums for illegally imported species, while international task forces work tirelessly to crack down on smuggling rings. Undercover agents infiltrate secret auctions held in luxury yachts or hidden jungle compounds, where whispered bidding wars escalate into millions over single, highly controversial specimens. Meanwhile, reality television discovers a goldmine. Entire series emerge documenting the drama of competitive breeding, with camera crews capturing the triumphs and meltdowns of passionate dino enthusiasts. Audiences eagerly tune in for weekly eliminations, unexpected medical emergencies, and heartwarming stories of underdog breeders overcoming impossible odds to produce award-winning specimens. Predictably, spin-offs flood the market, from dating shows featuring dino lovers to cooking competitions inspired by prehistoric cuisine. As cultural obsessions grow, microdinos become unexpected tools for social commentary. Satirical cartoons depict government officials distracted during critical debates as their microdinos squabble in miniature wrestling matches beside them. Editorials mock corporate executives who bring their prized creatures to board meetings, using feathered gestures as passive-aggressive power plays. Internet comedians build entire careers around spoofing the absurdity of dino-obsessed influencers, blending biting satire with genuinely impressive knowledge of prehistoric taxonomy. The environmental impact, however, sparks increasingly intense debate. Conservationists worry that devoting vast resources to breeding and caring for microdinos diverts attention from protecting existing endangered species. Some argue that forests are being cleared to grow dino feed, while water supplies are strained to maintain specialized habitats. Heated conferences erupt as ecologists and dino enthusiasts clash, each accusing the other of ecological short-sightedness. In response, biotech corporations launch PR campaigns touting their sustainable breeding programs. Glossy commercials showcase smiling children frolicking with microdinos in lush green parks irrigated by recycled water and powered by solar energy. Critics remain skeptical, pointing to leaked documents revealing that many breeding facilities operate under far less idyllic conditions, sometimes involving genetic shortcuts that result in health complications for the creatures. Educational institutions, too, wrestle with ethical questions. Elementary schools integrate dino care into their curriculum, blending biology lessons with responsibility training. Parents argue over whether exposing children to genetically altered creatures teaches valuable empathy or fosters dangerous desensitization toward manipulating life itself. School boards are inundated with passionate letters from concerned citizens on both sides, their tone ranging from heartfelt pleas to unhinged rants peppered with dubious scientific claims. Meanwhile, entire fields of research emerge at the intersection of psychology and microdino ownership. Therapists explore the complex bonds between humans and their prehistoric pets, documenting cases where people attribute deep emotional understanding to creatures whose actual cognitive capabilities remain a hotly contested subject. Studies reveal that many owners report lower stress levels and improved mental health, while others develop unhealthy codependencies bordering on obsession. Religious leaders deliver increasingly colorful sermons. Some embrace microdinos as miraculous proof of divine creativity, weaving elaborate interpretations of ancient texts to accommodate their existence. Others denounce the revival of prehistoric life as sacrilegious meddling, warning of apocalyptic consequences. Fringe prophets roam city streets waving placards that declare, "Repent, the tiny terrors are among us," while street preachers engage in heated debates with dino-costumed street performers. Legal systems buckle under the weight of bizarre new legislation. Lawmakers draft entire volumes regulating dino zoning laws, mandatory vaccinations, noise ordinances for mating calls, and tax deductions for dino-related business expenses. Courtrooms become battlegrounds for precedent-setting cases. Can a microdino inherit property? Should insurance cover emotional distress caused by dino breakups? Judges, often visibly exhausted, attempt to maintain order, while journalists gleefully report every absurd twist. In the business sector, corporate mascots are swiftly replaced by microdinos. Advertisements feature cheerful spokesdinos promoting everything from breakfast cereals to luxury cars. Stock markets create specialized dino indexes, tracking companies involved in breeding, feeding, insuring, and accessorizing these creatures. Investment gurus appear on financial news channels offering tips like diversify your portfolio with dino futures before the next breeding cycle surge. Inevitably, social movements arise. Advocates for dino rights demand stricter welfare standards, lobbying for regulations against overcrowded breeding mills and unethical hybridization. Protesters march through city streets carrying signs adorned with cartoonish but deeply serious slogans like "Tiny dinosaurs deserve big love" and "Feathers are not fashion statements." Counter-protesters argue that their own freedoms as breeders and enthusiasts are under threat, transforming public parks into ideological battlegrounds filled with chanting humans and bewildered microdinos. Across the globe, microdino culture becomes an unlikely diplomatic tool. International treaties include provisions for collaborative breeding programs, cross-border dino exchanges, and unified safety standards. Cultural festivals celebrate the shared joy of microdino ownership, with parades featuring intricately choreographed displays of synchronized dino dance troupes clad in miniature feathered regalia. For one shining moment, humanity glimpses what true global unity might look like, not bonded through politics or economics, but through collective adoration for prehistoric cuteness. And yet, for all the spectacle, the question remains, has humanity truly mastered nature or merely opened Pandora's egg-shaped incubator? Scientists continue pushing genetic boundaries, spurred by ambitious startups promising ever more astonishing breakthroughs. Rumors swirl about prototype breeds capable of limited speech, complex problem-solving, or even symbiotic relationships with advanced AI companions. Conferences buzz with speculation, some heralding a bold new future, others sounding dire warnings about unforeseen consequences. In secret research labs, late into the night, scientists peer into microscopes, scribble equations, and whisper possibilities that would make even the most audacious science fiction writers blush. And somewhere, in a gleaming underground facility guarded by biometric locks and humming servers, one final experiment waits, an egg unlike any seen before, pulsing faintly under sterile lights.
While the world marvels at its tiny dinosaur utopia, some minds drift toward the next logical step: competitive micro-dino sports. What started as harmless agility contests soon evolves into an international obsession. Stadiums fill with roaring crowds as genetically perfected dino athletes leap, sprint, and perform synchronized aerial stunts that would make Olympic gymnasts weep. Commentators scream excitedly about tail flick techniques and feather alignment, while slow-motion replays dissect every nanosecond of dino precision. Bookmakers gleefully dive into this lucrative new betting market. Entire economies emerge around micro-dino racing leagues, complete with scandalous doping accusations, under-the-table bribes, and exclusive sponsorship deals. Shady trainers peddle performance-enhancing nutrient blends under names like TerraPower Plus and VelociBoost Max. Investigations uncover underground labs where mad scientists tweak genomes to shave milliseconds off sprint times. The fashion industry, naturally, cannot resist. Haute couture designers debut seasonal micro-dino collections showcasing miniature gowns and tuxedos designed for red carpet appearances. Runway shows feature models strutting with their elaborately dressed companions perched on glittering pedestals.
Influencers flood social media with carefully staged glamour shots, while online boutiques cater to every taste, from retro Jurassic flair to sleek futuristic aesthetics. Academic circles grow increasingly divided. While some scholars celebrate the unprecedented boom in paleogenetic research, others warn of dangerous hubris. Heated debates fill conference halls as evolutionary biologists argue over whether humanity should even possess the authority to resurrect and manipulate long-extinct species. The phrase, "playing God," is thrown around so often that it becomes the unofficial drinking game of scientific panels. Meanwhile, therapists report a new wave of existential anxiety among clients struggling to reconcile their place in a world where humanity shares its cities with resuscitated relics of prehistory. Philosophers write lengthy treatises on identity, power, and the ethical boundaries of science. Are we caretakers, creators, or exploiters? Late-night talk shows feature heated debates between earnest ethicists and smug tech CEOs, while comedians gleefully lampoon both sides. Amidst all this, darker corners of the internet give rise to bizarre conspiracy theories. Some claim the micro-dino industry is a government plot designed to distract citizens from economic instability and creeping authoritarianism. Others whisper that elite cabals are secretly breeding weaponized dino soldiers for future wars, their tiny claws tipped with venomous nanotech. Grainy videos surface purporting to show military drills involving highly trained micro-dino strike teams, though most analysts dismiss them as elaborate hoaxes. Political campaigns embrace the dino discourse with gusto. Candidates stage photo ops holding adorable hatchlings, awkwardly stroking tiny scaled heads while promising responsible regulation and economic prosperity. Debates feature fiery arguments about tax breaks for dino breeders, safety protocols for public spaces, and the urgent need for national microdino welfare standards. Scandals erupt when leaked footage reveals high-ranking officials receiving lavish gifts from powerful breeding syndicates. On the cultural front, cinema experiences its own Jurassic Renaissance. Blockbuster films reimagine classic dinosaur epics with entirely miniature casts. Audiences flock to theaters to watch heroic microraptors battle villainous nanospinos, complete with sweeping orchestral scores and slow-motion action sequences that somehow make tiny creatures seem grandiose. Merchandising explodes, with plush toys, action figures, and interactive AR experiences flooding the market. Theme parks race to outdo each other with increasingly elaborate microdino attractions. Guests stroll through meticulously crafted biomes populated by free-roaming creatures, while cutting-edge holographic overlays create the illusion of larger-than-life ecosystems. Roller coasters simulate daring rides through scaled-down prehistoric landscapes, complete with animatronic predators that roar adorably as passengers speed past. Inevitably, a handful of ultra-wealthy eccentric billionaires push boundaries even further. Private islands transform into exclusive dino preserves where guests can interact with rare, custom-bred species unavailable to the public. Lavish galas are held beneath glass domes where feathered mini-rexes strut along crystal pathways, entertaining the global elite. Membership requires not only vast wealth, but also adherence to strict secrecy agreements, fueling public fascination with whispered rumors of what truly transpires inside these gilded playgrounds. In parallel, activist groups intensify their campaigns, accusing these private preserves of fostering unethical breeding practices and genetic tampering. Leaked drone footage reveals disturbing glimpses of deformed hybrids, creatures designed more for spectacle than survival. Outrage spills onto the streets with massive protests demanding government intervention and sweeping reforms. Tensions boil as police clash with demonstrators waving signs declaring, "Dinosaurs deserve dignity too." Religious sects fracture along surprising lines. Some embrace microdinos as symbols of divine rebirth, organizing elaborate rituals involving feathered processions and dino-themed hymns. Others condemn the creatures as abominations, warning that meddling with ancient life invites divine retribution. Apocalyptic cults gather in desert communes, interpreting the resurgence of prehistoric creatures as signs of an imminent end-times reckoning. Economic shifts ripple across industries. Entire sectors pivot to support the booming micro-dino economy. Construction companies specialize in dino-friendly architecture, designing skyscrapers with built-in aviaries and ground-level habitats.
Insurance firms roll out specialized policies, covering everything from dino medical care to liability for accidental stampedes during public gatherings. Universities offer degrees in dino husbandry, genetic ethics, and even micropaleontology. International trade treaties increasingly hinge on dino-related negotiations. Countries vie for access to rare genetic material, creating new alliances and rivalries. Smuggling rings grow bolder, transporting forbidden hybrids across borders via elaborate underground networks. Intelligence agencies engage in high-stakes espionage missions to steal proprietary breeding technologies, their agents battling not just rival operatives, but occasionally escaping rogue microdinos. In one particularly absurd twist, pop culture witnesses the rise of dino influencers. Charismatic microdinos amass millions of followers, their every chirp and tail wag meticulously documented by dedicated handlers. Endorsement deals pour in as companies scramble to attach their brands to these unlikely internet celebrities. Fan conventions draw throngs of costumed enthusiasts eager to meet their favorite pint-sized icons, while tabloids breathlessly report on behind-the-scenes drama involving dino rivalries and exclusive breeding contracts. Meanwhile, underground art movements rebel against the mainstream dino craze. Subversive installations critique society's obsession with engineered cuteness, juxtaposing images of idyllic microdino habitats with stark reminders of humanity's ongoing environmental failures. Street artists stencil haunting murals of extinct species lost forever, challenging passersby to reflect on what has been gained and what can never be restored. As the microdino phenomenon grows increasingly intertwined with every facet of human life, one truth becomes undeniable. The world has irreversibly crossed into a new evolutionary era. The once distant past now shares our sidewalks, our homes, and even our dinner conversations. And somewhere in hidden laboratories and think tanks, the next frontier quietly takes shape, promising to push the boundaries of science, society, and sanity even further.
But not everyone is charmed by our new miniature Jurassic World. Predictably, bureaucrats everywhere dive headfirst into the most thrilling sport of all, regulation. Committees form, commissions gather, subcommittees sprout like weeds, each drafting thousands of pages of dense legalese, attempting to govern everything from microdino breeding permits to noise ordinances for chirping flocks living in urban apartments. Lawyers feast upon the sudden explosion of litigation. Lawsuits pile up like fossilized ammonites. One neighbor sues another for letting their velociraptor miniatures trespass onto the hydrangea bushes. A class action suit accuses a major breeder of falsely advertising hypoallergenic Stegosaurus variants, while allergy sufferers sneeze their way through courtroom testimonies. Insurance companies gleefully capitalize, offering comprehensive microdino policies with enough fine print to make War and Peace seem like a light read. In this climate of legal chaos, opportunists emerge like cunning raptors in tall grass. Shady breeders sell unauthorized hybrids on the black market. Smugglers develop ingenious methods for transporting forbidden microdinos across borders, hiding them inside innocuous-looking handbags or hollowed-out fruit. Border control agents begin using sophisticated dino-sniffing dogs, ironically another species whose existence is threatened by these tiny newcomers. Educational systems scramble to adapt. Entire school curricula are rewritten to include dino etiquette classes. Children are taught how to safely approach a territorial Microcarnotaurus, recognize the warning puffs of an agitated mini triceratops, and avoid the talon-sharp tantrums of spoiled pet microraptors. Biology textbooks balloon to unprecedented sizes as they attempt to encompass both modern and revived prehistoric fauna, leaving students and teachers alike drowning in an avalanche of flashcards. Inevitably, there's a booming demand for dino therapists. Anxious pet owners seek counseling after realizing their precious tiny predator has developed separation anxiety, feather-plucking compulsions, or even identity crises. Clinics advertise cutting-edge therapies, aromatherapy for stressed pterodactyls, mindfulness exercises for hyperactive oviraptors, and cognitive behavioral therapy for moody protoceratops. Insurance companies, again, ever opportunistic, launch comprehensive mental health packages for emotionally unstable prehistoric pets. On the home front, the housing industry undergoes yet another radical transformation. Interior designers offer bespoke micro-dino habitats integrated into household decor. Coffee tables double as lush terrariums. Chandeliers incorporate feeding perches. Refrigerators come equipped with nesting shelves for laying egg species. Entire apartment complexes brand themselves as micro-dino friendly, offering amenities such as shared grazing parks and community nesting pods. Predictably, real estate prices skyrocket in neighborhoods zoned for high-end dino amenities. Speculative investors snatch up properties, transforming sleepy suburbs into micro-dino luxury havens. Realtors coin increasingly ridiculous marketing jargon: Jurassic chic, paleo-luxury, prehistoric modern. Open houses feature gourmet hors d'oeuvres served by waiters with tiny ceratopsian escorts perched on their shoulders. Yet for all the glamour, cracks begin to form. Environmentalists raise alarm bells over unforeseen ecological impacts. Native species struggle to compete with these revived competitors. In some regions, micro-dino flocks outcompete local bird populations for food sources. Tiny herbivores devour suburban landscaping at alarming rates, turning meticulously manicured lawns into barren wastelands of chewed stumps. Homeowners associations declare war. Farmers, initially excited about micro-dinos as potential pest control allies, soon discover the unintended consequences of inviting omnivorous creatures into their fields. Entire harvests vanish overnight as swarms of tiny herbivores descend like scaled locusts. Livestock face new predators no larger than a house cat, but infinitely more cunning. One viral video shows a group of coordinated mini Deinonychus distracting a herd of sheep while others raid grain stores with military precision. Governments respond by deploying wildlife management teams armed with tranquilizer darts, robotic herding drones, and cutting-edge capture technology. Scientists propose elaborate relocation programs, airlifting problematic flocks to remote habitats. Meanwhile, doomsday preppers stockpile anti-dino gear, reinforced chicken coops, electrified garden fences, and even personal exosuits designed for defending backyard barbecues from unwanted prehistoric party crashers. In parallel, religious interpretations continue to evolve. Certain sects elevate micro-dinos to near-divine status, believing their resurrection fulfills ancient prophecies. Others see them as tests of faith, challenging humanity's moral fiber. Theologians write volumes debating whether souls inhabit these creatures, while spiritual gurus offer workshops promising enlightenment through bonding with one's inner dino. Artistic expression also finds fresh inspiration. Contemporary painters explore the juxtaposition of human frailty against the timeless resilience of these ancient beings. Poets wax lyrical about the poetic absurdity of commuting to work while dodging a flock of squawking Psittacosaurus. Fashion designers release entire lines inspired by dino plumage patterns, blending prehistoric motifs with cutting-edge fabrics. Even language itself adapts. New idioms emerge. "Don't poke the protoceratops" replaces "let sleeping dogs lie." Dating profiles boast of one's skill in training stubborn microraptors. Late-night comedians riff endlessly on the perils of romantic dates ruined by jealous pet pterodactyls, dive-bombing unsuspecting suitors. And meanwhile, the entertainment industry capitalizes on the endless novelty. Streaming platforms turn out reality shows chronicling the lives of eccentric dino collectors, competitive breeders, and ambitious genetic entrepreneurs. Viewers tune in to watch teary-eyed contestants plead with judges over which tiny predator deserves Best in Show honors. Scandals erupt when judges accept bribes disguised as rare fossilized amber jewelry. Scientific conferences transform into glitzy media spectacles, complete with red carpets, exclusive after-parties, and paparazzi snapping shots of famous geneticists alongside their prized specimens. Awards are handed out for breakthroughs like Best Tail Morphology Enhancement and Most Efficient Egg Incubation Process. Overnight, lab coats become status symbols rivaling designer fashion. And all the while, deep underground, another realm thrives. Rogue biohackers push ethical boundaries, creating custom designer species that defy natural history. Glowing velociraptors, featherless Spinosaurus variants with iridescent scales, tiny T-Rex clones with unsettlingly human-like vocalizations. Some creations escape into the wild, leaving authorities scrambling to contain bizarre hybrids roaming the outskirts of civilization. Public opinion fractures into warring factions. Traditionalists advocate for strict conservation measures, urging respect for scientific boundaries. Capitalists defend free market innovation, heralding microdinos as proof of human ingenuity. Activists demand sweeping reforms to protect both natural ecosystems and the welfare of genetically altered creatures. Paramilitary groups form, vowing either to defend or eradicate rogue hybrids, fueling an undercurrent of tension threatening to ignite into open conflict. And through it all, the microdino revolution marches forward, unstoppable, unpredictable, and entirely absurd. As society teeters between fascination and chaos, the global economy undergoes one of the strangest booms in human history. Entire industries rise and fall, driven by our insatiable obsession with these pint-sized prehistoric wonders. Financial analysts scramble to track the volatile Dino Index, where prices for rare color morphs fluctuate like crypto coins during a celebrity scandal. Stock markets develop micro-dino sectors. Investors debate whether to pour their life savings into startups developing miniature armored ankylosaurs for urban pest control, or into luxury dino hotel chains promising five-star experiences for both human guests and their scaled companions. Hedge funds launch complicated derivatives based on speculative breeding rights, while shell corporations secretly corner the market on rare dino feed ingredients. Advertising executives, never ones to miss an opportunity, embrace the microdino craze with unbridled enthusiasm. Commercials feature miniature Parasaurolophus serenading consumers with catchy jingles for breakfast cereals, energy drinks, and insurance packages. Toothpaste brands promise fresher breath strong enough to impress even a picky microraptor. Dating apps advertise compatibility algorithms that pair users based on preferred dino species. Inevitably, celebrities emerge from this bizarre ecosystem. Influencers boast millions of followers who tune in daily for updates on their flamboyant microdino menageries. Pet fashion becomes a cultural battleground as rival influencers compete to outdo one another with increasingly elaborate costumes, dino jewelry, and viral dance routines performed alongside choreographed packs of mini velociraptors. Hollywood, naturally, fully embraces the phenomenon. Entire film franchises revolve around heroic microdino trainers navigating absurdly dramatic plotlines. There are romantic comedies set in upscale dino spas, gritty crime thrillers about illegal hybridization rings, and even epic war films featuring tiny armored triceratops battalions charging into battle like prehistoric cavalry. Meanwhile, academic disciplines splinter into increasingly specific subfields. Paleogeneticists argue endlessly over ethical guidelines for gene editing. Behavioral scientists conduct detailed studies on microdino social hierarchies, discovering shocking parallels to human office politics. Economists publish dense treatises exploring the inflationary pressures caused by dino-related industries. Entire university departments rebrand themselves as centers for dino studies, complete with mascots resembling feathered protoceratops in tiny graduation caps. Of course, where there are universities, there are also student protests. Activists demand better rights for genetically resurrected creatures, accusing corporations of exploiting vulnerable microdino populations for profit. Sit-ins occur outside major research labs, with protesters waving signs that read, "Justice for Jurassic." Heated debates break out over whether microdinos possess consciousness, emotions, or legal personhood. Courtrooms groan under the weight of unprecedented ethical lawsuits. Governments, desperate to maintain some semblance of control, establish sprawling international agencies tasked with regulating every aspect of microdino existence. Bureaucracies balloon. Entire ministries are dedicated to the oversight of dino breeding, transport, welfare, taxation, and even funeral rites.
Diplomatic summits devolve into shouting matches over who holds jurisdiction over rogue hybrid escapees crossing international borders. Religious leaders offer increasingly surreal interpretations. Some hail microdinos as divine messengers, symbols of humanity's mastery over death itself. Others condemn them as dangerous abominations, warning of apocalyptic consequences. Fringe cults emerge, blending ancient dinosaur worship with modern techno-mysticism. New holidays celebrate pivotal moments in dino cloning history, complete with feathered costumes, ceremonial egg blessings, and awkward family gatherings punctuated by dino-related political arguments. Even the language of love transforms. Marriage proposals incorporate elaborate microdino displays, with synchronized routines choreographed to romantic soundtracks. Wedding vows include promises to jointly care for their scaled companions through sickness, health, and molting seasons. Divorce settlements grow increasingly complicated as couples battle over custody rights for beloved microdino pets and disputed egg clutches. But beneath the glittering surface, cracks widen. Rogue factions exploit the microdino boom to advance darker agendas. Black market breeders traffic in unstable hybrids with unpredictable behaviors. Underground fight clubs pit illegally enhanced specimens against one another for high-stakes gambling. Paramilitary groups weaponize aggressive breeds for urban warfare, creating terrifying scenarios where conflicts are settled not with tanks or drones, but with swarms of highly trained feathered predators. The international community struggles to contain escalating violence. Law enforcement agencies deploy specialized dino response units equipped with cutting-edge containment technology and trained in advanced microdino combat tactics. Public service announcements warn citizens to report suspicious dino-related activity. Tensions rise as entire cities implement strict curfews following a series of high-profile hybrid escape incidents. In this volatile climate, conspiracy theories flourish like invasive weeds. Pundits speculate that shadowy cabals orchestrate global dino policies for profit and control. Late-night talk shows feature paranoid guests alleging secret government programs to weaponize microdinos for covert operations. Viral documentaries claim ancient prophecies foretold the return of prehistoric beasts as harbingers of humanity's downfall. Meanwhile, climate scientists grow increasingly concerned. The cumulative environmental impact of billions of microdinos, consuming resources, producing waste, and altering food chains, reaches staggering levels. Vast regions of natural habitat are transformed into sprawling dino reserves. Entire ecosystems buckle under the strain, triggering cascading consequences that ripple through the biosphere. Public opinion fractures along ideological fault lines. Pro-dino factions argue that humanity must embrace coexistence, adapting our world to accommodate these resurrected companions. Anti-dino activists demand sweeping eradication programs, warning that unchecked proliferation threatens global stability. Heated debates erupt in town halls, legislative chambers, and online forums where keyboard warriors engage in endless battles over the fate of the microdino world. And yet, through all the chaos, one undeniable truth remains. Humanity, in its infinite creativity and absurdity, has irreversibly reshaped the planet in its image. The age of microdinos marches on, unpredictable and unstoppable, as we hurtle toward an uncertain future filled with both wonder and catastrophe.
As governments scramble to maintain their grip on this bizarre new world order, the political landscape mutates into something barely recognizable. Entire political parties rise around micro-dino policies. You have the Pro-Feather Coalition, lobbying for expanded dino rights, the Scaled Sovereignty Movement, advocating strict breeding controls, and the Jurassic Libertarians demanding free market solutions to micro-dino regulation, often accompanied by poorly dressed triceratops wearing tiny top hats. Election campaigns devolve into absurd spectacles. Candidates parade their micro-dino companions across debate stages, trying to demonstrate their deep understanding of the micro-dino question. One particularly memorable campaign features a presidential hopeful whose speech is interrupted by his mischievous micro-tyrannosaurus climbing onto the podium and knocking over the teleprompter. The candidate still wins in a landslide thanks largely to viral clips captioned "Tyrannosaurus Rex for President." Foreign policy becomes equally strange. International summits are filled with tense negotiations over hybrid containment zones and illegal egg trafficking. Global treaties establish micro-dino no-fly zones, while UN peacekeeping forces are dispatched to manage escalating dino-related border disputes. Tiny armored convoys carry genetic samples between warring factions, each side insisting their hybridization program is purely for scientific research. Meanwhile, science gallops ahead with reckless abandon. The line between natural and artificial blurs as bioengineers create increasingly elaborate hybrid creatures. Micro-dino peacocks with glowing plumage are bred for high-end fashion shows. Luminescent feathered species light up luxury nightclubs, replacing conventional lighting entirely. Aquatic micro-dino variants populate ornamental ponds, while amphibious breeds are introduced as living water filtration systems for wealthy neighborhoods. Of course, not all scientific advancements are so glamorous. Rogue laboratories experiment with psychic micro-dinos capable of rudimentary telepathy, sparking fresh debates over ethical boundaries. Government black sites allegedly conduct clandestine experiments to develop dino-assisted espionage agents. The tabloids erupt with rumors of psychic velociraptor sleeper cells planted in enemy governments, while conspiracy theorists claim their neighbor's unusually quiet micro-raptor is secretly reporting to shadowy organizations. Education systems transform to meet the demands of this peculiar world. New fields of study emerge: dino-economics, micro-species ethics, hybrid conflict resolution, and cross-species communication. Kindergartens incorporate micro-dino handling courses, where toddlers learn not only their ABCs, but also how to gently groom their classroom protoceratops. University campuses become strange blends of traditional academia and dino research facilities. Fraternity parties feature synchronized micro-raptor flight shows. Graduation ceremonies involve miniature Stegosaurus mascots delivering diplomas with their armored tails. Even school mascots evolve, with teams like the Fighting Featherbacks, the Scale Squad, and the Claw Collective dominating intercollegiate sports. As entertainment adapts, so too does art. Avant-garde sculptors create intricate micro-dino habitats as living installations. Symphonies incorporate dino calls into their compositions, with trained Parasaurolophus providing haunting melodies. The culinary world experiments with sustainable recipes utilizing dino byproducts, leading to high-end restaurants serving dishes like Triceratops egg soufflé and spicy micro-raptor skewers, though these delicacies spark fierce ethical debates. Predictably, the tourism industry undergoes a renaissance. Exotic dino safaris offer tourists the chance to interact with rare breeds in controlled environments. Luxury micro-dino cruises feature upscale accommodations for both human passengers and their feathered companions. Theme parks themed around famous micro-dino celebrities become pilgrimage sites for fans eager to snap selfies with their idols. Beneath the glitter, however, festers an underworld that thrives on the chaos. Smuggling rings traffic in forbidden hybrids with unstable temperaments. Black market gene editing kits allow rogue hobbyists to create their own unauthorized breeds in backyard laboratories, leading to entire neighborhoods being evacuated after one particularly aggressive hybrid develops the ability to climb walls and mimic human speech. Urban environments adapt in increasingly strange ways. Entire skyscrapers are retrofitted with micro-dino perches and climbing structures. Public transportation systems implement dino-friendly compartments. Rooftop gardens double as micro-dino sanctuaries, with residents competing to cultivate the most elaborate airborne dino habitats. Apartment leases come with strict dino weight limits, leading to heated disputes between landlords and tenants over whether their micro-raptor has exceeded its legal size allowance. Insurance companies create wildly complex policies covering everything from dino-caused property damage to emotional trauma inflicted by unexpectedly aggressive displays. Lawsuits flood the courts as citizens sue each other over noise complaints, territorial disputes, and dino mating rituals gone horribly public.
Attorneys specialize in micro-dino litigation, commanding astronomical fees while arguing over whether a neighbor's rogue oviraptor constitutes grounds for emotional distress. Religious institutions, never once to be left behind, adapt with remarkable creativity. Some sects worship micro-dinos as symbols of divine resurrection, incorporating them into elaborate rituals. Others condemn the entire practice as heretical, predicting imminent divine retribution. Pilgrimages emerge to sacred micro-dino breeding grounds, where the devout gather to witness rare genetic variants hatch beneath artificial suns. The internet, predictably, becomes a swirling vortex of micro-dino content. Entire social media platforms are dedicated exclusively to showcasing daily dino antics. Viral trends include elaborate obstacle courses, synchronized swimming routines, and even competitive dino cosplay contests. Influencers amass millions of followers by live streaming their miniature ceratopsian brunch parties or offering tutorials on creating custom feather dye patterns. And yet, as this cultural tidal wave surges forward, ominous questions linger. Scientists warn of unintended genetic consequences as unstable hybrids display increasingly erratic behavior. Environmentalists raise alarms over the long-term impact on fragile ecosystems. Ethicists debate whether humanity has crossed a moral threshold from which there may be no return. For every heartwarming video of a child snuggling their gentle microraptor, there is a darker story lurking in the shadows, a hybrid predator that escaped containment, a failed experiment buried under non-disclosure agreements, and a political scandal involving secret breeding programs. The world stands balanced on the edge of absurdity and disaster. The age of micro-dinos has become not merely a novelty, but the defining feature of an era spiraling into both marvel and mayhem.
As we tumble further down this prehistoric rabbit hole, the economic implications of a world dominated by micro-dinos become impossible to ignore. Entire industries rise and fall with the whims of these tiny creatures. Traditional farming suffers as genetically enhanced micro-dino breeders corner the exotic pet and specialty food markets. Meanwhile, agriculture adapts by incorporating micro-dino pollinators, replacing dwindling bee populations with tiny winged pterodactyl variants that buzz through fields like flying origami. The fashion world, always eager to exploit novelty, launches into a full-scale dino frenzy. Couture designers unveil lines featuring live micro-dino accessories, from necklace-mounted compies to shoulder-perching microraptors with sequined feathers. The rich flaunt their wealth with designer dino breeds, each one more genetically elaborate than the last. Red carpets transform into moving habitats, with celebrities carefully coordinating their outfits to complement their living jewelry. Even the automotive world cannot resist. Luxury car makers release models with built-in dino habitats, complete with climate control and miniature obstacle courses to keep the creatures entertained during commutes. One high-profile scandal erupts when a billionaire crashes his self-driving limousine while attempting to live-stream his Microstegosaurus performing synchronized tail wags during a highway joyride. Inevitably, governments stumble into the regulatory quagmire. International organizations convene emergency summits to negotiate breeding standards, cross-border dino trafficking laws, and containment protocols. Bureaucratic nightmares unfold as officials argue over which agency has jurisdiction over bioengineered creatures that technically never existed before their labs sneezed them into reality. The black market flourishes beneath this tangled web of legislation. Unsanctioned hybridization labs operate in the shadows, splicing genes in pursuit of increasingly bizarre and unstable creatures. Reports surface of illegally bred micro-dino predators with glowing eyes, venomous fangs, and unsettling cognitive abilities. Urban legends swirl of rogue hybrids escaping into the wild, forming secret colonies beneath abandoned cities and deserted islands. Cultural tensions rise as debates over dino ownership rights ignite social movements. Protesters march demanding freedom for exploited microdinos, while others campaign for stricter controls to protect human safety. The question of personhood for artificially created species fractures societies along unexpected lines. Legal scholars argue whether microdinos deserve constitutional rights, while philosophers struggle with the ethics of manufacturing life purely for human amusement. Inevitably, extremist factions emerge. Radical pro-dino groups launch cyber attacks against corporations accused of unethical human-dino hybridization experiments. Underground sanctuaries harbor escaped microdinos, smuggling them to remote wildlife reserves. Meanwhile, anti-dino militias arm themselves with advanced capture technology, patrolling cities and rural areas alike, determined to eradicate what they view as an existential threat to human civilization. Religious revivals erupt across the spectrum. Some embrace the microdinos as divine gifts, interpreting ancient scriptures as prophecies fulfilled. Others denounce the creatures as abominations, heralding apocalyptic warnings of humanity's impending doom. Entire new religions blossom, complete with dino-worshipping ceremonies, sacred hatcheries, and elaborate pilgrimage routes leading to renowned breeding facilities. Amidst the chaos, technological advancements race forward. Neural implants allow humans to communicate with their microdinos via thought-controlled commands, fostering eerie bonds between species. Augmented reality systems overlay microdino habitats into public spaces, blurring the line between physical and digital environments. Smart homes integrate dino care systems that monitor health, regulate habitats, and even play soothing music composed specifically to calm anxious hybrids. In the entertainment sphere, the microdino phenomenon spawns entirely new genres. Competitive microdino obstacle courses dominate television ratings, combining athletic feats with heartwarming displays of loyalty and intelligence. Virtual reality experiences allow users to step into simulated prehistoric environments populated by their personalized hybrid creations. Global microdino expos attract millions, blending science fairs, fashion shows, and high-stakes breeding competitions into surreal cultural spectacles. But cracks begin to form beneath this glittering surface. Unintended ecological consequences ripple outward as escaped hybrids establish feral populations, disrupting fragile ecosystems. Predatory variants evolve unexpected traits, challenging containment efforts. Genetic drift produces unstable mutations that resist conventional control measures, forcing desperate governments to deploy increasingly extreme countermeasures. Corporate powerhouses grow bloated and unchecked, their monopolies over genetic patents consolidating wealth and influence. Scandals erupt as whistleblowers leak evidence of unauthorized human-dino hybridization experiments, igniting global outrage. Conspiracy theorists claim shadow governments are breeding intelligent dino species to serve as secret enforcers, while tabloids publish blurry photographs of what they insist are bipedal feathered agents lurking in plain sight. The media, never one to miss an opportunity, descends into sensationalism. 24-hour news networks feature round-the-clock coverage of microdino incidents, from daring rescue missions to grisly attacks. Talk show hosts parade viral footage of rampaging hybrids alongside celebrity interviews, while late-night comedians turn out endless jokes about miniature T-Rex fashion mishaps and Protoceratops therapy animals. As the world teeters between wonder and catastrophe, a growing undercurrent of unease spreads through the population. Scientists issue increasingly urgent warnings about the long-term genetic stability of hybrid populations. Economists forecast potential collapse as insurance claims skyrocket and entire industries face destabilization from rogue dino-related incidents. And yet, for every disaster, there remains an undeniable sense of awe. Children grow up alongside their microdino companions, forming lifelong bonds. Artists create breathtaking works inspired by these living creatures. Scientists unlock groundbreaking discoveries through the study of dino genetics, advancing medicine, energy production, and even space exploration. The microdino revolution has reshaped the very fabric of human existence, transforming not only how society functions, but how humanity perceives itself. The boundaries between natural and artificial, predator and pet, marvel and menace blur into an unpredictable kaleidoscope of consequences. And still, the story is far from over. For beneath this vibrant chaos, forces stirred that will determine whether the age of microdinos becomes humanity's greatest triumph or its most spectacular downfall.
As the micro-dino age barrels toward its chaotic crescendo, world leaders convene at the newly established United Nations Biodiversity Emergency Council. Their mission is simple in theory, impossible in practice: to draft a global treaty that will balance the economic, environmental, and ethical fallout of humanity's pint-sized prehistoric obsession. Naturally, the first 5 months are spent debating who gets the biggest chair and whose microdino gets to sit next to the world's most powerful people. Meanwhile, underground labs push boundaries no one was meant to cross. Rumors swirl of microdinos engineered not just for entertainment, but for intelligence. And not parlor trick intelligence either. These creatures begin demonstrating problem-solving skills, memory retention, even basic communication patterns. A rogue faction of biotech enthusiasts sees them as the next evolutionary step, a bridge between humanity and artificial life. Soon, leaked footage of a velociraptor the size of a guinea pig tapping out Morse code with its claws sends shockwaves through the world. Was it cute? Absolutely. Was it terrifying? Even more so. The public reels from the unsettling realization that humanity may have unintentionally created a rival species one mutation away from sentience. In response, religious leaders declared these tiny brainiacs an affront to the divine order, while Silicon Valley tech moguls scrambled to secure intellectual property rights over the genetic code. One eccentric billionaire even publicly announces the founding of Microdino University, where he claims to be training the first generation of dino scholars in fields such as nanoengineering and miniature diplomacy. But all utopias teeter on the edge of disaster. The first large-scale hybrid escape happens during the Global Dino Expo in Tokyo. A poorly secured transport container carrying a batch of illegally enhanced microraptors malfunctions, releasing thousands of highly intelligent aerial microdinos into the city skyline. What was supposed to be a celebration of technological progress turns into a frantic airborne evacuation that clogs global news feeds for weeks. The aftermath prompts swift, brutal regulation. Governments worldwide impose heavy restrictions on genetic modification programs. Massive burn pits are established to cull unauthorized hybrids. Protests erupt. Rights activists clash with militarized containment squads in city streets. Hashtags like Save the Compies and Dino Genocide trend for months. But even as global authorities attempt to tighten control, a growing underground network of dino sympathizers works to smuggle hybrids into safe zones, hidden sanctuaries scattered across remote islands and deep wilderness areas. It becomes the 21st century's strangest moral dilemma. Do you side with the miniature creatures you've bonded with, or with the governments desperate to contain them? Scientists caught between public hysteria and political agendas issued dire warnings. The longer these hybrids remain unchecked, the greater the odds of irreversible ecological collapse. Ecosystems groan under the strain as feral microdino populations decimate native insect species, shift pollination cycles, and even displace small mammals. Entire food webs restructure themselves in real time. By the time the third generation of wild hybrids emerges, humanity begins to witness true evolutionary adaptation at breakneck speed. Feathered, bioluminescent night hunters evolve. Amphibious dino frog crossbreeds hop rivers. Some species show signs of limited language mimicry, echoing human speech patterns like grotesque little parrots with unsettling intelligence. As tensions peak, several nations quietly propose an extreme solution: the full eradication of all microdino populations through a global sterilization initiative. Genetic-coded airborne pathogens are developed in secret labs. International ethics committees resign and protest. Protesters blockade labs. Violence escalates. And yet, amidst the mayhem, something remarkable happens. The world pauses. For a brief moment, global media shifts away from fear-mongering to showcase microdinos and humans living in symbiosis. Elderly patients comforted by chirping troodontids in retirement homes. Children raised alongside gentle Protoceratops therapy companions. Farmers developing resilient crops pollinated by winged hybrids that thrive where bees once vanished. Public opinion turns. The mass sterilization initiative stalls. Instead, global cooperation emerges to create carefully managed reserves, massive biospheres where hybrid populations can live under close supervision while allowing scientific study to continue. Humanity learns a hard but vital lesson. Progress without foresight invites chaos. The microdino age, once teetering on the edge of apocalyptic failure, stabilizes into a strange, vibrant coexistence. We share our planet now not just with each other, but with the tiny echoes of ancient titans, reborn through our own technological arrogance. And there you have it, the alternate history nobody asked for, but everyone secretly wanted. A world where dinosaurs never really left us. They just shrank down, invaded our homes, hijacked our culture, and forced us to reckon with the bizarre consequences of playing genetic God. Before we wrap up this wild prehistoric ride, if your brain somehow survived this journey without being eaten by a swarm of nano-sized raptors, do me a favor. Hit that like button, leave your thoughts or crazy microdino theories in the comments, and subscribe to What If Horizons for more mind-bending scenarios where we take reality, flip it upside down, and see what falls out. Until next time, may your compies remain cute and your microraptors stay firmly in their cages.